In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the new features in version 3.0 of FastBeam by CMK BIM Consulting. The first feature we're going to take a look at is how we can actually automatically get the profiles from an image that's captured or a screenshot captured from your design drawings or your PDFs. So if you want to get all the beam sizes from your plans or the column sizes from your column schedule, you can easily get that versus having to type those all in individually into your FastBeam palette. The next thing is that you have the ability now to switch profiles as well as switch inputs on the fly without having to interrupt. In previous versions, you used to have to, in order to change a profile, you would actually have to interrupt or cancel out of the command and then change that or press that other button in order to start doing something different. Now you can actually fill in that information, press the enter key, and it will then apply that information, or simply just press the different profile button in order to switch profiles on the fly while you're in the middle of an add beam or add column command. And then also you'll see that just from a usability point of view, being able to easily see which profile is active, a lot of users were asking for, hey, I just want to know exactly which profile I'm modifying or that I'm adding in before I put it in, just to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And so now the profiles buttons show an active highlight color, letting you know which profile you're using. Right, so the first thing that we want to do is we actually want to launch FastBeam here. And when we come over to the dialog box, we want to enter in some of the column information that we're going to need here. So let's go ahead and first start out with emptying out the palette here, and we'll just go ahead and type in columns. All right, so now that we've got that in there, let's enter in the bottom of the column, which will be at the top of footing there or the bottom of base plate. I'll do 98 foot. And then here I'm going to do 114 foot 6.5 basically for the top of steel on those columns. All right, so now that we've got that set, let's just go ahead and save that away. And now instead of me typing in all of the column profiles, I'm actually going to use the capture tool here to try to get this automatically from the drawing itself. So if I come in here and open up the column schedule on the design drawings, I'm going to go ahead and press this capture button. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just size this dialog box a little bit here, so that way I can get a nice kind of grab or capture on the profile. So I'll just double click on that, just scroll over, get the next one, and then let's see, we've got 54 here, so I'll just grab that. And then I can't remember if I already got that, so I'll just grab it again just in case, and then it'll filter it out if it needs to. And then I think I've got pretty much all the profiles. Now, there is an HSS here, but it's crossing the lines, so the text recognition might not grab this. So once I've done that, I'll close that down. And here, within a few seconds, you'll see that it actually grabbed all those column profiles for me. And it sorts them alphabetically, so that way it makes easy sense for me when I'm applying these columns in the model. So once I've got that set, I'll just go ahead and save, and then I can go back into the model here. I can actually just start producing and putting in those columns. To insert columns, all we need to do is activate the column profile that we want to insert. And here you'll see that in the new version 3.0, it actually highlights and shows you which profile is active. So if I just double click, it'll place in this column here. Now let's say that we want to switch profiles. I'm going to go to W14 by 90, and then I'll just go ahead and place those columns in here. Now this is new in version 3.0. Before, you used to have to interrupt and actually press the next button to insert the next column size. So here, without interrupting, you can actually continue to change your profile size and then quickly put in the rest of your columns or your beams. Then we can just go ahead and interrupt when we're done here. And then if we need to, all of these columns per the design are actually rotated 90 degrees. So we'll just select all of these, and then we'll go ahead and do the rotate button. And then you'll see here that it rotates them all 90 degrees. Now I've modeled in the rest of my columns, and now it's time to make beams. I'm going to go ahead and create a new group here, and I'm going to enter in the elevation to be the same on both sides. So I have 114 foot 6.5 on both sides here. And then I'm just going to save this as the category called beams. So I'll just say save. Now, rather than me typing in all of the beam profiles, I'm going to again go back to the design drawings, and I'm going to go ahead and get the profiles from those design drawings. Right, so go ahead and use the capture tool here, and I'm just going to try to window around the entire area and see how well this actually works out. So I just resize the camera, double click to take the image, and then I close this down when I'm done, and then it will process and automatically list all the profiles that it could find here inside of the dialog box. And there we go. It actually found a pretty good amount of the profiles that are here. Now, if there's more profiles than the 8 slots, then it just won't add them. And then you can come in and find those individually and add them at a later time after you've got all the main framing in. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start with a W16 by 26. So I'll just go ahead and press on the button here, which will activate that. And then pretty much what I can do is I can just pick basically the 2 points there, and then I've got a couple more 16 by 26s that I need to put in the framing here, and so I'll just quickly kind of do that. And so the whole idea is that you kind of quickly look at the design drawings and see what it is that you need to put in, and then just quickly try to use the same profile if possible. But if you don't like this skipping around and trying to find all the same profiles, that's not a problem. You can easily switch profiles. So let's just go to the W18 by 35, and then I'll just put in the 18 by 35 here along this length. And then if I want the W10 by 12, I can just switch to that. And then I can go from here and then here, and notice that I'm actually picking the bottom, and then I can pick the top, and it's going to lock to the exact elevations because I've got that set here in my beam elevations over to the left on the dialog box. And then I can continue to just modify this. So let's say we have a W24 by 55 here, and then I'll just put that in, and then I have another 10 by 12 in the midpoint. So again, the whole idea here was that before you used to have to interrupt and then try to use the same profile over and over, and there was a lot of interrupt or escape and then reactivating the tool. Now you don't need to necessarily do that. So I'll just say Control left click here and then get that W10 by 12 in quickly in this location. Alright, so let's just go ahead and interrupt for a second, and what we can also do is we can also set, as we're inputting things, we can put in some of the user-defined attributes, but I'll do that here in a second. Let's first just modify this here. So we know that on this beam we're going to have 32 studs, so I'm just going to modify that, and then we know that we're going to have a 3/4 inch camber, so I'll just also modify that on that particular beam. Now, I've got a couple beams here below that are going to be at equal spacing in this bay, but let's first get the girders in that we need to span this bay. So again, we're going to do W24 by 55s, so I'm just going to go ahead and activate that, and then we'll pick in those bays to put that in. And then I have a W21 by 44 that I'm going to need to put in here in this particular bay. Alright, so we've got those in. Now, let's go ahead and change this here to do 2 beams in between this bay, and I'm going to do W18 by 35s, and they're going to get 32 studs and 3/4 inch camber. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the UDAs to be activated and created as I put in the beams versus modifying it after. So that's what this checkbox does here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to activate W18 by 35, and I've set this to 2 beams so it equally divides this bay, and I'm going to model from left to right, and there we have our 18 by 35s, camber 3/4, and 32 studs. Alright, so now I'm going to do a W21 by 44, but this is going to actually have no camber on this, so we'll take that out, and then I'm going to switch this back to 28 studs for the top here. So I'll just do W21 by 44, then I'll select, and actually this is a good point to show, is that I had this at 2, but I actually wanted this at 1, so I'm going to just do 21 by 44, so that way it only puts in 1 girder here, and so I've got that in, and then again I can repeat this over here if I need to, and let's see, if I accidentally missed a point, I can just come back. And there we go, we've got that in. Now in the middle of this, I just want to show that we could easily model in or switch the profiles. So we can go to 16 by 26, we can change this here to 26 studs, and then when you change anything in the middle of the command, you have to press enter so that way it actually remembers that specific property change. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put 3/4 inch back, and again I'll press the enter key so that way it remembers that. And then here, when I actually model in a beam across, you'll see that it has the 3/4 inch and the 26 studs on the top of it compared to the 21 by 44 that I just modeled previously. So there you go. That's some of the key things that are new in version 3.0, is the ability to quickly change profiles, add properties on the fly, as well as the big thing here is actually using this image recognition to automatically get your beam and column profiles from the design drawings, reducing a lot of your text input. Now, if there is a beam size that doesn't exist here, you can just quickly come in and say W12 by 14 as an example, press the enter key, and then that will actually take up the last slot here. So that way you can quickly just input that if you need to. So in this particular case, we need 8 studs, and we're going to put this beam in, and then we're good to go. And so now we can quickly get that in if the image recognition didn't automatically find that profile when we initially captured it, or if there wasn't enough space to get all of those profiles in here. All right, so this is a brace bay here, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to say HSS 6 by 6 by 3/8 here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm not going to press enter because otherwise it'll just add it and it'll clear it out here. So I'm just going to type this profile in here. Then I'm going to say chevron brace with points. And so the whole idea here is that I pick the bottom of the column, and then I pick the beam, and then it automatically puts in the bracing for me, and it shows the rotation, and it automatically finds the half depth of that beam that I've just applied that to. So here's a quick way, rather than you having to kind of get in there and move the braces down or do any of that manually, you can just quickly put in that brace and you're all set. If you don't already have FastBeam, it's on sale for $3.99. Just feel free to reach out to us here at CMK BIM Consulting and we'll get you set up.